Okay, so after that, it's now time to take a look at some of the stories that we have or that have been captured on our local dailies. And by the way, before I start, I need to involve you here, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever been called by any person, so-and-so, calling from this particular end of the phone call, asking you that you know person X or Y owes us some money? And they appear so rude.
You're talking about the digital lending apps.
Yes.
Fintech.
Yes, and you're told kindly inform him that his loan is overdue. The money is continuing. If you don't do that, we're going to get some of your items and sell them. They are very, very rude.
And they're very rude.
Yes.
Yani unapigiwa mpaka unaambiwa wewe ndio tutakukujia as if
the person si fault yao.
Kama ulipe alafu muitishe.
Yes. Even our director Fadhili says that they are very, very rude. Very rude.
They are never gentle.
Actually, even others threaten you and you're not the person that they owe money.
But you know, it's because they've been calling the person who borrowed that money for the longest and they're not.
But that's illegal. They do not have the right to do that.
Data protection.
They do not have the right to do that.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
regardless of the situation, even if you have defaulted, they don't have the right to call somebody else on your behalf who did not even volunteer to be that guarantor.
Yes.
You just put their number there. That is illegal, and that is actually one of the points that a while back we were having a conversation about fintech in Kenya and how they are breaching privacy laws.
Yeah. Some people would even say that my pastor was called. So ukiwa kanisa on a Sunday or Saturday unambia, Victor, I was called by so and so on Tuesday that you owe them 40 bob.
Imagine.
Church. So, but anyway, that has changed, and the president assented to that bill, and now you are safe. We'll tell you more on that in the program, but now let's take a look at what's on the front line of the Star newspaper. Kabete killings, survivors tell of shooting horror. Kabete killings, survivors tell of shooting horror. Constable Benson Imbatu went home with his AK-47 rifle, picked a quarrel with his wife, Carol Amagove, and shot her. That is the story captured here on the front page of the Star newspaper, and said that he stepped out of his house and felled 5 others. Survivors tell of their horrific ordeal in the hands of the killer cop. All right, he's only human. Doctors take on Ruto's grueling campaign diary. I will give you his diary, and now the doctors and psychologists say that he's just human, and his tight schedule and campaign itinerary is driven by adrenaline. I will tell you, lawyers to disclose suspects deal in money laundering law, and it said that lawyers will be compelled to disclose financial transactions deemed to involve money laundering and terrorism financing. The state will also have powers to seize suspects' property and stop transactions at least for 5 days without court order. Okay, and quickly on the second page here, revealed governors, senators, women reps support Raila and Ruto. The ODM leader has the backing of at least 30 governors, 22 senators, and 17 women representatives. Ruto has the support of 12 governors, 16 senators, and 23 women representatives. Among the latest to join Ruto's camp are Governors Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga, Nyeris Mutahi Kahiga, and Kwale's Salim Vuria. The One Kenya Alliance, bringing together Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, Gideon Moi of KANU, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, as well as Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, has no support of a single governor. However, the quartet has the support of 5 women representatives and 5 senators. That is according to a research done by the Star. Now, Kirinyagas first gentleman debuts with public address. His presence expected to both strengthen and soften Waiguru's image since he became the governor's spouse on July 13th, 2019. The vocal lawyer has never before so publicly performed duties associated with that role. Of course, these have not been defined in the case of men. But on Monday, however, Waiganjo accompanied Governor Waiguru to an official event, not to use his legal acumen and courtroom skills, but to perform his role as first gentleman. the governor was launching a cancer treatment center at the Kerugoya County Referral Hospital. All right. Very quickly, and you can take a look at that story. It's just a narration of the survivors on how that incident happened. Investigation suggests that love triangle in which cop killed his wife with an AK-47 rifle, then went on a killing spree, and now survivors and the victims of the departed friends and family members now narrating how the whole event went down. And finally, Mount Kenya tycoons to endorse Raila ahead of Kasarani meet. Foundation among guests at ODM leaders meeting in Kasarani on Friday, and it is said that the role of at every electioneering period, these people, the foundation will gather at a Nairobi hotel to endorse the decision and make it public. The businessmen will among key guests at ODM leader Raila Odinga's Friday meeting at Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani in Nairobi, where he is expected to announce his presidential bid. So that is as far as that is concerned. And just to tie that with the politics, doctors take on Ruto's grueling campaign schedule. And Dr. Njagi Kumatha, a Nairobi-based consultant, said that Ruto's energy is triggered by adrenaline informed by the fast approaching August 2022 presidential election. And he said that psychiatrists described the DP's energy as emanating from self-motivation to succeed. And I think this is quite common to, I mean, it's human, according to what they say. If you have a drive to achieve something, it doesn't matter. In Luo, we say, if you have a stomach ache, running stomach, and you can hear even hyena just in the compound, you'll be forced to go out. That's the kind of energy you have. If you can translate it loosely, what you know what I mean. Okay? Okay.
Kambaya.
Oh, let's go.
Hyena's got nothing.
But it's expected of every human. Whenever you are in a situation that demands you to put your best foot forward, adrenaline checks in. Even when you're in danger, or your brain detects that part of your body has been severely injured, it takes over. It kicks in. It does whatever it needs to self-preserve, because that is what the brain, your brain can actually turn against you without your will, because it is wired. It was built to protect the body at all costs. So it can shut down the body because inaona hapa hivi mali tunaenda ni pabaya.
Let me control this man.
It will control. The one saying nasemanga mind over matter.
Exactly.
That is exactly what that means. Now let's come to the Daily Nation, and let me just pick up from that political note that you left off, Victor, and we start off with the main read. Raila bids Oka to win tycoons backing for 2022. Raila bids Oka to win the tycoons backing for 2022, and Mount Kenya Foundation bigwigs settle on ODM leader Raila Odinga as their preferred candidate to take over from President Kenyatta, coming as a major political boost ahead of the former PM's big day. Now, this is a story that has been covered on page 4, page 5, and page 6. They go on to look at page 4 focuses on the Mount Kenya bigwigs who are set to name Raila Odinga as their preferred State House hopeful today. On the other page, it talks of the 30 governors who are set to attend the Azimio la Umoja event that will be happening. And on page 6, it talks of how UDA and ANC tell Uhuru to keep off 2022 polls. I will be key to give you these details as per how they have been captured here. Now, moving to a story concerning the education sector. Now CBC goes to universities and colleges to review courses ahead of the rollout in line with the competency-based curriculum, just looking at the current system, that is the 844 that we are phasing out. What needs to be done? And this, as you already know by now, CBC is anchored on where is this? It's anchored on a basic education curriculum framework, just looking at how competent can we make it, how practical can we make it. And now they are moving to universities and colleges because as per what the statistics indicate, more students who join universities, they take courses in humanities and arts, and most of the STEM courses are left out. And they actually gave a breakdown with 25% of enrollment. Is it 25? Let me get that figure correctly. Yes. Students that are taking courses in education, that is in the arts, account for 20% of all university enrollments. Those that are taking business administration takes up another 19.9%, and humanities take up 8.4%, clearly narrowing the gap for any STEM related courses, and that is an area that they are looking. The Ministry of Education is looking at how they can restructure to ensure CBC is as effective when it comes to STEM-related courses. Now, coming back to the front page, for Killer Officer, it was a matter of when and not if. This is the account of some of his colleagues who said that they feared that this would actually happen. It was just a question of when and not if it would happen. This story has been covered in great detail here. They go on to give on the account prior to him leaving the station to when he left the station. Some say that this particular rampage was anchored on a love triangle gone wrong. And the also interesting bit is that he had been with his wife for less than 3 months. They have been married for less than 3 months, as per what has been captured on this daily. Of course, we'll be giving you the details as the papers have for us, okay? And finally, 7 tests positive for Omicron in Uganda. The virus was detected in 2 travelers from South Africa and 5 from Nigeria who arrived in Uganda more than a week ago, raising fears that they may have spread the virus into the country and also the surrounding countries. Remember, here in Kenya, we are still awaiting their report from the Ministry of Health after there were some travelers from South Africa who tested positive for COVID-19, but they are yet to confirm if it is the new variant. Doreen.
Right, so let's begin from that COVID-19 note and just bring it back to the country. This is in respect to what the Ministry of Health is continuing to say. It looks like actually every day they just keep reiterating on that Kenyans ensure that they actually get vaccinated, or else from December 21st, all government services, including transport, will be a no-no for any Kenyan who would not have been vaccinated. And also this continues up to Kenyans who are actually anyone who will be jetting into the country as after that time to provide their COVID-19 certificate, or else any activity or any service or even coming into the country will still be a no. So that is what the ministry is saying. That is from what the CS mentioned yesterday as they were receiving the 4.6 million doses of vaccine, which are inclusive of Johnson & Johnson together with the various other types of vaccines there. To some bit of education matters, this is again in respect to the CBC petition, where the CJ now appoints a 3-judge bench to hear that CBC petition. Just as Troy was mentioning yesterday, that anytime there's something new being introduced to the country, it never misses to have a bit of back and forth, and this has been ongoing for a while, just like the way yesterday they were talking about how they want to introduce the CAN system. Of course, there was a mixed reaction in regards to that, and that is what has been also been happening when it comes to the competency-based curriculum. And there's a lot that is being said when it comes to CBC. Key among those issues that perhaps will be presented is that they're saying it's burdensome, it's very costly, it's confusing to learners, there's still lack of training, and that they still deem it fit to revert back to the 844 system. So this is why this 3-judge bench has been appointed to hear this particular petition. And also, as we prepare as a country to celebrate Jamhuri Day celebrations on 12th December, which is going to be this coming Sunday, as it has been mentioned by the Interior PS, that is Kibisho, he says that so far 95% of the works there, the Uhuru Gardens, already complete in preparations for that particular celebration. And only a total of 11,000 guests will be allowed into the garden. That is because of the COVID-19 protocol. Also, part of what he's mentioned is that they will ensure that every Kenyan is represented, amidst the fact that only 11,000 will be allowed in for that particular celebrations. And again, obviously, there's still a lot of ongoing investigation in regards to that shootout yesterday in Kabete, where the policeman, that is Benson Imbatu, went on a shootout, killing 6 and he also ended up killing himself as well as the wife. And part of what is coming out is that he was actually being investigated by IPOA over the death of Nicholas Lifede, which happened this same year. That was on April 16th, just about 8 months to this shootout which happened yesterday. And part of what is coming out in respect to that particular case is that family members say the officer shot Lifede for defending his sister, who had been assaulted by the same officer. But on the flip is that the Dagoretti Sub-County Police Commandant, that is Francis Wahome, claimed the officer fired to defend themselves from the surging crowd. So clearly there's a lot that is still happening that was still under investigation up until yesterday when the police officer killed himself. And again, to some bit of political note, this is again just the same as what Victor and Wamboi have mentioned there. This is ahead of that Friday meeting there, and this is also in respect to what Mount Kenya at least is trying to do to endorse Raila for the big seat. And perhaps I can just mention a bite from what one of the tycoons mentioned there, is that saying that after their assessment of the candidates that they would have planned to endorse come next year's general election, is that they settled on Raila as the most suitable to succeed President Kenyatta. And obviously they've given various reasons to why they settled on the former premier. So obviously when we get to the details, I'll be telling you all these reasons that they gave forth to just try and ensure that they endorse the former premier and not anyone else. And again, obviously we've been seeing a lot of works being spearheaded by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services here in the city. We saw the bus terminus coming forth, that is the Green Park. There's various other designated areas where they just try to ensure that this also comes into play. And the latest of their works is what they were doing in Uhuru Park. That is in terms of just trying to renovate that particular place. But it just turns out that the court is faulting NMS in that Uhuru Park facelift, and the court has halted those ongoing activities or ongoing works there by the NMS, and it is accusing City Hall of failing to conduct public participation before those particular renovations. These were just some of the complaints that also Kenyans had, those who have businesses there, the small and medium scale businesses, as well as Kenyans who are just made fond of going to that place to just enjoy that cool breeze. They are complaining of lack of proper public participation by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services when it comes to renovations of Uhuru Park, and this is why the court has halted that particular activity there. And lastly, when you look at gender-based violence, and we keep having these conversations, but have you ever thought of how it costs the economy, and not just in millions but in billions? Yes, so that is how GBV is intertwined with losing of money in this country, and this is as a result of a latest report by IMF, which just shows how Kenya, being amongst top 20 countries with the highest number of gender-based violence, is linked to how this country is losing a lot of money because of gender-based violence. Troy.
Very well. Indeed, the Standard, we have Killer Corp's last call and love turned sour. Of course, we are following up on that tragic event. Constable Benson had called a cousin moments after killing his lover, then shot 5 other people dead before taking his life. Yesterday, it emerged that the officer had, in the past, had vicious fights with his partner, Carol. Actually, reading this story, we have seen that, of course, the police are talking about they are conducting investigations, and, of course, the CSG did talk about mental health wellness of police officers, and saying that they will also incorporate other psychologists and psychiatrists to help police officers also deal with what they are dealing with, which have been compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. But something has come out that he had, from recounts from colleagues, he had a very short fuse. He was mdula anajam tu mara moja na anafanya vitu. So police are on the case. They have talked about, he also even had a pending case that was being looked into by IPOA, that is the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. Okay, as we wait for conclusive report, let's move on. Why head teachers want schools closed early? of course, yesterday they had a meeting, that is the Kenya Secondary Schools head. They're calling for postponement of the national examination for by at least 2 months to curb unrest. Of course, there are proposals to get rid of boarding schools. There are many proposals from all corners, reintroduction of the cane as well, abolition of boarding schools, among other proposals, to tame the indiscipline among students. Of course, the government did also talk about that they will be charging, and any student who will be found culpable will face the full wrath of the law. There is politics as well. Raila bag of tricks. Perhaps it's resonating with what you guys have also observed in the other dailies, is that tomorrow the Mount Kenya leaders or business people are in talks to bless, in quotes, Raila. They're talking about they will endorse ODM leader State House bid ahead of his Azimio la Umoja bid or convention at the Kasarani that is expected to go down on Friday. There is a very interesting commentary, down but never out. Raila reinvents himself for the year 2022. Of course, he's talking about strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which they are calling SWOT, as opposed to the SWAT that we usually hear about. Talking of politics, the DP is also on the front page, talking about gambling with small parties. Ruto now pushes fringe parties to join UDA, has insisted that all those who want to support his bid must join. They must fold up their parties and join UDA. But pundits have argued that this could work against him. People want to be identified with their own political parties. They don't want to fold up just like they did in 2013, that they did some parties in 2017. Now they're talking about that could really work against him. And one of the people who has raised that concern happened to be Mwangi Kiunjuri, who is a TSP party leader. Yesterday we had talked about the judiciary that's also making or forming basis of some of the headlines in the Standard. Leave judiciary out of politics, Oka principles now tell Ruto. Of course, yesterday they were in a tour where KANU chairman Gideon Moi, they were in Voi town, together with Moses Wetangula, Musalia Mudavadi, and Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka. They're talking about kindly let's leave all the talk about the judiciary being used to settle political scores, to talk about the state using the state using machinery to actually actualize one preferred candidate. They're talking this could jeopardize the independence of the judiciary, which could also raise eyebrows when it comes to the 2022 succession politics. Something that Vicky, you started with, CBK will now police digital lenders after the head of state did allude to that fact. And wow, it's amazing. 4 billion, they lend 4 billion shillings each month. Vicky, that's a lot of money. But the problem is the interest rates and their recovery efforts. But the good thing is that CBK will be now policing over these lenders so that they ensure that there is fairness in the market, and of course there is also low prices when it comes to the interest, because you guys will agree that the charges or the interest that they charge are quite high.
Yeah. They call them the secret transactions.
Yes.
And the figures.
Yes. You might now Kenyans can at least borrow in peace, if there's a word like that. They can now borrow in peace.
It's easy and quick to get it.
You know, the sad part is they know what they're doing, and Kenyans, some do not have another alternative but to just go for those loans at those exorbitant rates that they have.
Yeah.
Because they know ni sisi tu utaenda wapi kwingine. You need the money now. They have ensured they trade their high prices for your convenience. A price that they think anyone is ready to pay. To pay.
Yeah. But I think regulating the sector is going to streamline the whole financial sector, because it has to be streamlined so that even you as a borrower, you have value for whatever you are picking from them, because at the end of the day, 4 billion shillings per month, Troy,
Yes, 4 billion every month.
Yeah.
I think this is why people still prefer the traditional M-Pesa.
Yes.
Because for Fuliza, they were doing about 1 billion a day. Was it 1 billion or 2?
Per day?
A day,
yes.
So you can imagine how many Kenyans actually just live on debt to get through the day.
Yeah. That's why the M-Pesa is regulated. And yeah, they know how to get you. If you go this direction, they will come on that direction. But they don't call, you know, your next of kin, your friends, or the other party. Okay.
And I think also that those new regulations are just really because of that kind of calling. I mean, just as Wambai was saying it when we were beginning that particular conversation, is that sometimes you were not even the guarantor, like the person who borrowed never even mentioned your name. So you'd wonder, where did these people get your contact that they would constantly even be calling you and even harassing you, and you're not even in the picture? You knew nothing about whatever was borrowed.
That is data protection. Actually, they according to Troy, let me just come in briefly. Okay, director says that we need to take a break. Money matters. Ameuma ni kama alipigiwa simu at some point. He's a victim.
Adai story.
Okay, direct.
Welcome back. We continue with Good Morning Kenya. In case you're just joining us, karibu tena sana. This is Good Morning Kenya, and I am Jane Momboy. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya, so do let us know where you're watching us from today. We continue with a quick look at what the papers have for us today, and let me take you to the main read here on the Daily Nation. Raila bids Oka to win tycoons backing for 2022. This is a story that has been covered from 3 different angles, from pages 4 through to page 6 of this daily. And starting with page 4, Mount Kenya bigwigs to name Raila as a preferred State House hopeful. A group of influential and wealthy Mount Kenya leaders will today name ODM leader Raila Odinga as their preferred presidential candidate come the 2022 general elections, and of course his 5th attempt at the State House bid. And looking at Mount Kenya, they had previously backed President Kenyatta, and he consequently became the president. Before President Uhuru Kenyatta, they had backed President Mwai Kibaki, President Mwai Kibaki, who also won the elections. And looking at Mount Kenya's history, whichever president they have backed has consequently gone ahead to win the elections. And in the 3 times that they backed President Mwai Kibaki, former President Mwai Kibaki, and His Excellency President Kenyatta, Raila Odinga was also running against the said 2. 3 attempts, he went up against the former president and current president, and he did not manage. And now Mount Kenya has come out to say that they're going to back Raila Odinga for his presidential bid. So after denying him, quote unquote, the opportunity on 3 occasions in 2007, in 2013, and in 2017, today the endorsement will be marking a turnaround in fortunes that have been, fortunes that has seen the opposition leader's presidential bid finally embraced by the Mount Kenya. Now, according to this daily, they go on to say that they have learned that the group will also name Mr. Raila Odinga's running mate in February of 2022. That is what they have in regards to the plans for the next government that is set to come into office in August, as of the 9th of August, once we have gotten through with the elections. Now, the other part concerning Raila Odinga, still on politics, over 30 governors to attend Raila's event. At least 30 governors and over half of members of parliament have reportedly confirmed attendance for the former premier's Azimio la Umoja National Convention that will be happening this Friday. And according to the organizers, more than 40 senators, 200 members of the National Assembly, and 500 ward representatives had already confirmed by yesterday that they would attend this event at the Kasarani Stadium. The technical committee also, and organizing the technical committee, which of course is being led by Suna East MP Junet Mohammed. said that preparations are complete and the stage is set. Out of the 40 governors who were invited, 30 have confirmed, 40 senators who have also confirmed, more than 200 MPs and over 1,500 MCAs were invited to this particular event. Now, the other angle concerning Raila Odinga is in regards to what Deputy President William Ruto and ANC leader had to say in regards to President Uhuru's comments. So allies of Deputy President and William Ruto and those of ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi have cautioned the president against trying to influence the 2022 succession politics. And you can remember, Victor, this is actually one of the stories that we were talking about yesterday. Unlike previous presidents, or rather the previous president, former President Mwai Kibaki, who was quote-unquote termed as the lame duck when it comes to succession politics, it is contrary to what His Excellency Uhuru is doing now. He's heavily involved in who is going to take over after him. And allies of the Deputy President and ANC leader are now coming out to say, by the way, wait for your time in office to run out. Stop trying to, step beyond your time when it comes to the country's leadership. Yeah. And it's key because in a rare defense of the Deputy President, Mr. Mudavadi hit back over President Uhuru Kenyatta's remarks in Nakuru last week, where he pointed out that age should not be a factor in the State House race.
Try, even Eugene.
So age is not a factor?
Indeed.
And in a way, they were saying that President Kenyatta was endorsing Raila Odinga's presidential bid. So age, I think, was issue.
See, our constitution is open to that age factor. It doesn't cap.
But actually, Jane, you've brought up something very, very interesting. The Mount Kenya, the tycoons, each and every president that they have supported, in as much as they are just, let's say, a cocoon of around a few businessmen, they have vast interest when it comes to politics, and they have a big say when it comes to the next president of the country. Of course, the vote, you as the voter, you still have that. You can control who becomes your leader, but
everyone they have backed
has won.
Yes. But you see, that does, just like you're saying, Trey, because this is some of the things that also made Kenyans to just decide they would not even go get registered as voters, because when they look at some of this, as you mentioned, cocoons or some of this groupings, and when you mention also how they've backed, whichever president they've backed, ultimately has clinched that seat. But you see, in a way, it does not mean that you as a Kenyan, when it comes to August, you should not go there and exercise your right. It is still your mandated right to go there, regardless of what is happening in between before that time.
Yeah,
sure.
Winning an election is like cooking. For your food to be sweet, first of all, you have to add spices. Which one to put there?
Kama ni nyama unachemsha na chumvi kwanza.
Hawa ni part of the spices, so enda uongezee yako.
Unataka chemke kidogo kidogo kwe ngumu, zima gas, sama mapema, that's how we do it. So in politics,
ni greens hauweki nyanya, tunatonekanga nyanya kwa spinach.
So with politicians, they really know which kind of buttons they dial each and every time. And it's not even locally. Winning a presidential election, actually, some people say involves even international communities, different nations, who have interest. Kenya is actually one of the stories here. Kenya says that Kenya is the world exporter of avocado.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vic, now that you've mentioned that politics is international, it goes back to the time when the deputy president had visited Uganda. Then later on came his restrictions. Guys were saying that he had gone to learn from one of the best.
Exactly.
Museveni.
Exactly.
That's how it entails a lot.
Yes.
It's not just campaigning.
Yeah. Right. International community will have, because when we say Kenya, we'll ask, a nation will ask, okay, Kenya, you are the biggest exporter of tea, avocado. Tourism is one of your, your best, in terms of what are you going to give us, all right? In terms of stability, if Kenya is unstable after election, all the East Africa communities will have that effect. It's called the ripple effect. So Tanzania will ask themselves, okay, Kenya, if we support you to win an election, you are a candidate, what will you give us in return? Are we going to allow, our chicks to cross the border? Remember the issue of chicks being banned at the Kenya-Tanzania border? What are the kind of, the relationship between two countries or different countries? So it's not as easy as it may seem to be, like you and I just making noise here, okay, quote unquote, for our politicians. It goes way beyond that. So they know. So tycoons play a key role.
Yes, and actually, Victor, there's something we are also forgetting is that the diaspora, they are remitting billions every month to the country, and they cannot vote as things stand right now.
And the thing, when it comes to this... They have
overtaken tourism.
Yes. The political period is when money really moves.
Yes.
From both the diaspora and within the local market and every other... Look at the countries, whenever any country is having elections coming up, and the general elections to be specific, cash flow in that particular country jumps up.
Exactly.
A sharp
There's
contrast.
A cash flow.
Yes.
Yeah. So international community will support you. Some will support your campaign materials, your media, presence. Some will, logistics.
What do you have to offer us?
So it's a lot.
So it's just a question of interest. If I'm supporting you with this, what do I stand to gain?
And bearing in mind, Kenya has, the best defense in the African space when it comes to military power.
And
it's something that many countries actually wanaheshimu Kenya ikikuja hiyo area. Najua defense ya Kenya, bro.
So it just goes to say that elections is not a one-day event.
No.
It actually goes a long way.
Exactly. Everyone who has something to gain or lose wants to have a say in that. But again, we are a democracy, and that is why we have these elections.
Yes.
That's why you have to go and vote.
Okay. All right. So that the story, Oka says that we will change Tsavo National Park to game reserve if elected.
Yeah.
Yeah, the move, they said, that will help Taita Taveta residents benefit from the revenue collected from the park. They said that the Wiper leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, said that residents had not benefited in any way from the national park due to the human-wildlife conflict. And once converted, he said that the residents will get jobs and they will be prioritized in the recruitment of rangers and other staffers. So that is their pledge to the Taita Taveta residents there living around Tsavo National Park. Okay, so lawyers to disclose suspect deals in money laundering law. President Uhuru Kenyatta asked MPs to fast-track bill to bolster war on corruption. Advocates, notaries, and other independent legal professionals who are sole practitioners, partners, or employers or firms will be compelled to make such declarations and disclosures. The state will also have powers to seize suspects' property and stop transactions at least for 5 days without a court order. All this in the name of bolstering the war on corruption. And why Omicron might be good news. Microbiologist Jaoko says that highly mutated virus likely to lead in COVID wave and replace Delta, but that's not all bad. He said that, Professor Jaoko said that this would be good news. Delta, I quote him, Delta has been most dangerous variant so far, but there is no evidence Omicron is more lethal, and it could be even less lethal, and this could be a good thing. But nonetheless, we have to be very, very, very vigilant. So that story on new law terminates shaming of borrowers by digital lenders. Let me give you the figures. Of course, now we know what the whole story is all about, but let me give you the figures according to the source. Apart from debt shaming, digital lenders have saddled borrowers with high interest rates, which we're talking about, Troy, which rise up to 520% when annualized, leading to mounting defaults and an ever-ballooning number of defaulters. So the story quotes Tala and Branch, some of the top players in the mobile digital lending market offer annualized interest rates of 84 to 152.4% respectively, and 156 to 300 and 48%. So the reason why most people would default, because after a particular period, actually some would go for 7 to 14 days depending on the agreement. And then if you borrowed 1,000 bob, you'd borrow, maybe the interest rate would even go to 1,200, even 300. So that is so high to some people. That's why the debt would go so high. Okay, so Kenya leads in Africa on avocado exports. And do you know the leading county? I think this Horticulture Crops Director Benjamin Tito said that Murang'a was followed closely by Kiambu, Nakuru, Kisii, Nyamira, Meru, and Bomet counties. So Murang'a is the leading in avocado exports, and that is 31% in total production, which is a good thing, and it looks good. The picture here, I wish you saw it on telly. It looks good, but I know one thing: Jane loves waru. Waru
is big. Potatoes.
If you want to bribe her,
let her waru in all the various forms and shapes that it comes in.
When you're having tea.
Waru.
In whatever form.
In whatever form.
Imechemshwa, imekarangwa.
Waru. Na imeiva. Okay. Bribe me, please.
Okay. Doreen.
All right. So let's look at that story, how GBV has been tied to economy, and how we end up especially losing a lot of money in terms of billions as a country just because of gender-based violence. And especially when you look at this period of COVID-19, there's been a lot of stories, a lot of stories reported on gender-based violence, and not just meted amongst women, but this cuts across board. So this is a report or research which was done by IMF, and it just shows that GDP could grow by over 8% if Kenya was not among top 20 countries in the world where domestic violence is widespread. So listen to this. Actually, a slight reduction in GBV cases could make the economy grow, just as I mentioned, by 8% there. And this study sought to find out how COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns led to the rise in GBV ranks in GBV in Kenya, in GBV actually, and Kenya being one of those countries with the highest number of gender-based violence, becoming one of the in top 20 countries when it comes to matters of GBV. And again, domestic abuse is a plague on society, as the research or report continues to show. And the IMF staff research reveals how much it can hurt the economy, looking at data from the region where violence against women is most rife. And this is especially in sub-Saharan Africa. The article obviously continues to highlight more reasons as to why we continue losing a lot of money as a country because of gender-based violence. And also just continues to say that GBV-free environment ensures efficient use of resources such as labor capital and expertise, and this can only be achieved or addressed through collaborations. And again, also the study shows that in the short term, women from abusive homes are likely to work fewer hours and be less productive when they do work. I mean, it's very obvious, because with the continuous cycle of gender-based violence, obviously our productivity has become low. And again, violence against women and girls has a multi-dimensional effect on the overall health of an economy, both in the short term as well as in the long term. So again, when you look at different organizations, the state as well, coming forth to just condemn gender-based violence in whatever form, this is again also because of how much they see that we get to lose as a country just because of the continuous cases that continue to rise because of gender-based violence. Troy.
Indeed. And let's go back to elections. Elections body, Parliament, meet to review 2022 poll regulations. IEBC and the Parliament met yesterday, and actually they talked about, they regret that there are no stringent laws to stop early campaigns. And it's something that has cropped up. Deputy Ruto says that I'm not campaigning, I'm just visiting people to check on their problems. The former Premier Odinga talks about, no, mine is Azimio la Umoja, I'm bringing Kenyans together. But we know very well that these guys, even Oka, they're talking about they're just visiting Kenyans. So IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati says there are no stringent laws to regulate this, and the IBC is the only mandated body to announce when the elections should commence. Do you know they cannot take anyone to court? Reason, there is freedom of speech. I've just decided to talk to people of Nairobi. I've just decided to talk to people of Mombasa. But we know very well that these ones are campaigns. So they are having a sit down with Parliament to see how they can address this problem. Of course, talking about politics, Ruto's 50 billion shillings pledge, interest-free. I really want to see how this would work, because 50 billion interest-free loans for small businesses. Of course, we even have somebody talking about 6,000 every day. We have had the Masai Mara one is quite mirroring what happens in the lower parts of Embu County, where the Seven Forks dams are, but those people don't enjoy power. Something that Vicky, you had talked about. It's Jane, what about the Masai Mara? But of course, all those are politics and campaigns themselves. But there's something I've seen that have caught my eye. Of course, happened in London. 2 London police officers who took pictures of 2 slain sisters and posted them on social media have been jailed for 2 years and 9 months each. Of course, we have seen people splashing images. 2 London police officers,
yes,
who took pictures of 2 slain sisters and posted them on social media, have been sentenced to 2 years and 9 months.
What was
and
the
we
reason?
have seen that everybody has become a journalist. You know, you take pictures after an accident or something, or after an incident, and then you splash them on social media.
But why were they posting? Was it to look for help, or why?
It's more or less, if you have seen it in WhatsApp group, you've seen people deciding to, you know, what we had, the bus that Enzu River, at the Enzu River, you see pictures of people dead, and you see them in social media. That alone has earned 2 years and 9 months. So we need to be responsible on what we post on social media. Not only does it touch on families, but anything that will also raise eyebrows, or will just make people disgusted, or make people sad, we should avoid it.
But again, there is this raises another concern. We've always seen pictures of, you know, some restaurants, some joints, bars, and what entertainment joints around town, taking pictures of revelers and posting on their social media platforms. Perhaps, you know, some of this do happen without the person's consent.
Yeah, intrusion of privacy.
Exactly. And you know, somebody can sue you for that, because you are using my image to advertise your product or your business without my consent.
And that's the reason that most of them actually use it, just for advertising.
Yeah.
And they'll just say it's just for advertising. But you did ask me if it's actually right for you to take a picture of me eating or whatever doing for the purpose of your own advertisement.
All right, Doreen, take us on a break then on that note.
It's time for that break. But of course, Good Morning Kenya continues. We still have a lot in store for you after this break. Stay with us.